Hi, gorgeous, and welcome to the Confident, Energized, and Sexy Mama Show. I am Dorit Palvanov, your host, feminine energy expert, health coach for women, registered holistic nutritionist, and the creator of the groundbreaking health and mindset program for moms, Energized, designed for perimenopausal women who are done having kids and are ready to get their confidence, energy, and sexy back. Ladies, think about it. What would the world look like if, as women, we stopped being so harsh on ourselves and instead felt more energized, powerful, confident, and more connected to our bodies? What if, as women, we honored the fact that we are built and wired differently than men, and being different does not mean being inferior? That the go, go, go mentality, alongside doing more to have more without ever pausing and resting, only leads to chronic stress, anxiety, burnout, overwhelm, lack of joy, and corrodes our health, relationships, and vitality. What if, as women, wives, and mothers, we had the courage and confidence to desire more? More freedom, power, energy, joy, abundance, pleasure, fun, play, and sex, all on our own terms. Mama, you deserve to feel good. You deserve to form healthy relationships, and your body needs, craves, and deserves pleasure. This is your birthright. You're here because you believe in your feminine energy. You're here because you care about health and the environment, and you're not afraid to take action and change. You're here because you don't want to pass on a pattern of self destruction, hiding, and not speaking your truth to your daughters. You're here because you're done feeling stuck, living a mediocre life as a half woman. You're here because you are done struggling and, frankly, can no longer afford to feel like crap. Each week, I will be here for you, dropping a healthy dose of inspiration and motivation, as well as introducing you to my brilliant guests, where we will dive deep into all things womanhood, feminine power, energy, psychology, holistic and alternative health, food, nutrition, hormones, fitness, mindset, motherhood, relationships, sex, business, and much more. So, Mama, are you ready to take back control of your health? Let's do this. Hi, gorgeous. Welcome to another episode of the Confident, Energized, and Sexy Mama podcast. This is Dorit Palvanov, your host. I am super excited for today's episode since I am going to introduce you to a new friend of mine, a new online friend. And not only is she an online friend, she is also an Israeli, like I am, who moved to a new continent. So I live in Canada. Karin lives in the US. And Karin Adoni Ben David is a highly sought after certified nutritionist and health coach, specializing in healthy lifestyles, emotional eating, and sugar detoxes. And Karin's story, and we're going to go much deeper, and she will tell you herself about her personal story, suffering and healing from severe eating disorders for that she struggled with for over a decade, and it was just incredible to see how this young woman who is now a wife and a mother, how she transformed her life and how she now devotes herself to the practice of health and nutrition and really helping people around the world to heal their relationship with food, to heal their struggle around. I think what it really is, it's the feeling that they don't have power, um, and they lose power in their relationship with food. And I love how she, gives them guidance and coaching. And I love how she teaches them and how she empowers them, how she empowers the lives of her clients, um, in the same way that she did for herself. That it's important to heal not only the body but also the mind and the soul, through the healing power of food. So, of course, in that sense, her and I are very, very in alignment in terms of what we do, and how we serve people. And the reason I wanted to bring her here, is because I do believe that, there is so much for me also as a practitioner to learn from even other, from my colleagues, because we are all different. And I myself practice, not being in a competition, because competition really comes from a scarcity mindset. And as you ladies know, that my whole framework is around living your life in alignment with your feminine current. And that is what it means. It's really living your life, abundantly, knowing that there is enough for all of us. And Karin's voice is, it's different than my voice, and some people resonate with her, some people resonate with me. It's not about who is better. It's really about our stories, that and whose story you connect and resonate best with. Because at the end of the day, when you are on a healing journey, and we talked about this on the episode as well, owning your power, owning your own healing journey. When you go through a struggle and you are looking to shift your mindset and your life, really, you need guidance, you need coaching. And so it's always super helpful. I know that it is for me, and Karin also shared that when we are changing and shifting and evolving, how important it is to seek mentorship and seek guidance from people who are a little further ahead than we are, because it gives us a sense of safety, it gives us a sense of, security, it gives us belief, right? It gives us hope that, if they did it, if this person was able to heal through something that is so debilitating in your own life, then you have the power to do the same. So again and again, I am going to remind you the power of asking for help, the power of working with someone who you resonate with. It doesn't have to be me, it can be somebody else. If you resonate with Karin, and if you really are struggling with eating disorders and emotional eating and that kind of stuff, reach out to her, in the show notes, which you can find over at my website. And also, I'm going to attach a link inside of the iTunes. Head on over there, and it's going to be episode 138. Click on that link, and in the show notes, you will see all of Karin's links to her books, to her website, to her Facebook page, to her Instagram account. She is all over the internet, so it's not hard to reach out to her. And if you resonate with her, please do that step. Take that step. Give yourself the permission to be guided, to be mentored, to be on your way to shift from wherever hardship and struggle you are going through. And remember that staying stuck, it's a choice. Okay, and I say this with all the love, no judgment whatsoever. Okay, if you are struggling for years and years and years, then please remember and please know that this is a choice. You are choosing to stay stuck. You are choosing to stay in the same place. And I understand the reasons, and they're all legit. And Karin and I talked about that as well in the episode today. But please know that it is a choice. It's not a decree from high above. It is a personal choice that you are making that keeps you stuck from moving forward. Okay. And if your struggle is different, if you struggle with things like not knowing when to stop, like you are constantly in this rush, 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 go, 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 you're really struggling with staying present and enjoying the present moment, and it affects you, it affects how you show up for your marriage, it affects how you show up in your parenting, it affects how you're showing up at work, that is really how I can help you. This is really where my expertise come in play, and that's where I'm going to show you how to tap into the energy, the feminine energy that you have, we all have. It's just that we've forgotten how to use it and how to bring and incorporate more of that into our life, and how to live our life in alignment with our feminine current. So, if you need to learn how to use the 6 female markers, which I talked about again and again on the show, then reach out to me. You can find me over on my website, doritpalvanov.com. You can also find me over at Instagram at Dorit Palvanov Coaching, and reach out to me. And finally, make it your goal for 2020 to set yourself free. This is freedom. This is freedom. Set yourself free from the thing that holds you back and that keeps you small, that keeps you from really living your best possible life that you were meant to live. All right, so I feel like I can go on and on and on forever. Let me just quickly tell you the highlights of our conversation. So in the beginning, Karin shares her personal story of how she dealt with eating disorders. So she mentioned anorexia and I think bulimia as well. So that to me was super interesting. Just to kind of hear her own perspective of how that felt for her as a young woman to go through that hard experience. I've never dealt with eating disorders myself, but it's interesting. It's always interesting to me to hear a person who is dealing with hard stuff when they're on the other side. Also, we talked about what mothers can do to help our daughters to avoid diet culture. I mean, of course, this problem is not only for girls. I know also boys who struggle with this problem, and I've had experts on the show who've talked about diet culture and how it affects boys and how it affects girls. But the reality is still that women and females are much more susceptible to being harmed by diet culture and the need to be skinny and body image and all of that stuff. So we talked about that. We talked about the main struggles of women in her practice. For me personally, it's interesting. And then we talked a lot about emotional eating, and Karin had so many amazing nuggets of wisdom. She talked about the number one cause for weight gain, and to me, actually, it's not surprising, but I think it would be surprising to you because it has nothing to do with food. And then she talked about the truth about diet pills and diet fads and some of the dirty secrets of that industry. And then, of course, we talked about the importance of owning your own power and your own health journey, and the importance of accountability when you are going through something like that. We talked a little bit about the benefits of sugar detox for not really only for women. We talked about it in the context of people, why it's important for all of us to take a break from sugar. And then she talked about some tips for dealing with the resistance in the body that happens naturally as a form of withdrawal, right? I think it's very similar to withdrawing from drugs, because sugar is a drug. And so the body manifests this kind of resistance in the body because of the sugar detox. So she gave us some advice on how to move through that. And then, of course, at the end, like I always do, the second part of the interview is where we dive a little bit deeper into Karin's personal life. It's always interesting to me to know what it is that makes her feel confident as a woman, what it is that energizes her, what it is that makes her feel sexy. I loved her response, by the way. And I totally agree with that. So there's a lot of goodies in this episode. I really hope you will dig it. Let me know what you think. I think that's it. Here's my interview with Karin Adoni Ben David. Karin, hello, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
This is incredible. I'm so honored and happy to have you here. Like we were chatting a little bit before I hit record, I learned about you even when I lived in Israel. So that's when the first time I've seen you in one magazine. I don't even remember where it was, but I remember your face. And then when I came to Canada, I joined the Orange Theory gym, and one of the ladies at the front desk, her name is Shir Rotman. She's one of my favorites. When I saw her profile on Facebook, I saw your picture there. So it's like
it's a sign.
It's a sign. It's a sign that I needed to connect with you, and thank you for saying yes. So before we dive into the nitty gritty of what you do and how you help people, I would like to start with your story. How did it all start? To give us the background, and take it from there.
Sure. So basically, for me, nutrition is a very, it's a very personal thing first, and then it turned into a business and, my destiny and a profession. So for me, I grew up with a lot of eating disorders. I developed, a very complex relationship with food when I was about around the age of 11. I started starving myself. I was eating, I wasn't eating. I was really playing around with food, not knowing what it means. It was more than 20 years ago. The internet wasn't like it is today. So I wasn't aware, eating disorders, anorexia. There were not all of those, blogs and platforms to, unfortunately, like today, to enhance, those behaviors. And, it just started like that. With the years, it developed. Overall, about 10 years of my life, I was borderline anorexic. I was very extremely underweight for a long time. I tried every diet that you can say, the cabbage diet, the apple diet. I would take food suppressors, fat burners, whatever it is, you name it. I've done it. I did excessive amounts of exercise and workouts. And then in Israel, once you turn 18, it's mandatory to get recruited to the army. And I really wanted to get recruited because I always somehow try to, keep myself in that place of being in control and sanity, and not to let the disease completely take over my life. So I gained some weight. I joined the army. I was there for 2 years. And once I got discharged and finished my service, like every good Israeli, I wanted to go, travel the world. So I did. So I traveled to the Far East. I went to Thailand for a few months, and it was great and it was amazing. And I was there with my friends, and it was the first time in my life as I would say an adult person that I just enjoyed, without obsessing and being consumed with my thoughts. I think one of the most sentences that really can explain what it means to have that. It's like you have a prison in your own head. It's not even about, your weight or going on the scale 20 times a day or being obsessed about it. It's just you're consumed with your thought. You live in a prison in your head, and you want to break free, but you can't because it's overpowering you. So when I came back, the day I came back, all of my thoughts came back, and I felt like someone put me back into my prison. And that moment, I needed to make a decision whether I'm going to take control over the disease or the disease will take control over my life. And that was the day that I decided to choose me and to choose, sanity and health. Obviously, it was a long journey. I went back to therapy, saying back because my parents pushed me to go there all the time. But when you don't want to help yourself, no one can. So I started going again. This time, being honest with myself, not lying to the world, not lying to my parents, not lying to my therapist, and just saying like, you know, I want to get better. I remember that moment saying, if I'm going to continue, walking on this path and this road, where will I be a year from today, and where will I be 10 years from today? And that thought really scared me. So I went to intense therapy for 2 years, 7 years overall. Coming out of my eating disorders, I gained a lot of weight. Like if my lowest, I was below 100 pounds, and I was 5'9".
Mm-hmm.
Um, when I was coming out of it, I think I gained almost 60, 70 pounds in the course of a few months. So very
Wow.
extreme,
Yeah.
from being there to that point, because I made promises to myself, not to throw up anymore, not to use food suppressor anymore. So it was really, really extreme. I got some sort of a minor depression as well. So it was all very extreme. And then in that time, I grew up in the fashion industry. My dad had a very successful company, and I was really involved more in the business part of it. And then I needed, and my goal in life was always, to get involved in my dad's business and to take over at some point. And then I needed to say, okay, no, guys, game over. We had plans for 20 something years, but I can't do this because it will ruin my, soul for completely. So I quit and I left, and I was enrolled to school, and I stopped. And then I decided that it's time to heal myself. So I signed up to go study holistic nutrition. And my second year in school, I started working for a very successful nutritionist in Israel, to be like a right hand and to start learning, from the inside out. Very
Mm-hmm.
quickly, I learned quite a lot. We developed the business. And then in my last year, I started also seeing clients and helping other people, with assisting her. And then very quickly, we grew the business. We had about we developed a training program for other nutritionists and RDs and registered dietitian, and we had about 25 nutritionists working under our wings. It was spread nationwide in Israel, and then I had a very successful clinic there, very celebrity oriented and like more like executive, I would say. Bara Fali back in the days was my client when she was still seeing Leonardo DiCaprio and on the covers of Maxim and Sports Illustrated. And it was really fun. And I was young, in 25, 26. So it all happened really, really, really fast.
Yeah.
And then my ex-boyfriend got a relocation to New York, and I was really debating. And after a year of debating, I decided to leave everything, to quit my job, and to say, okay, I'm starting over, which everyone thought I was quite crazy. Sometimes I did as well. And I moved to New York. My first year was hard, adjusting, going back to school, getting
And then
certified.
the mentality is so different.
The mentality, learn the culture. Yeah, I had great English, but it's still now, work, help other people, in a language that is not yours, understand the culture, understand the food, understanding
Yeah.
the food took me a long time. After a
Yes.
year, I got accepted to manage Reebok Sports Lab, their nutrition department. And I did that for a few years. And then I moved again because I met my husband and I relocated to LA.
So
And
now
then
that's where you live.
so now I live in LA. And then I decided that that's it. I don't want to go back to corporate. I don't want to do it for someone else. I want to build my own business. And so I did 4 years ago. Very grateful, for all the opportunities that I had and where I am today, and still building and working so hard. Became a mom this year as well. So that was exciting and amazing and, and
And
tiring
hard. And
and tiring and
hard.
tiring and hard. It's hard, it's hard managing a business, being a mom,
Mhm.
making sure, you look apart when you're a nutritionist. So everyone are looking at you, how long will it take you to lose the weight? It's like there's a lot
Wow.
of pressure. But
Wow.
overall, yeah, like my story is very like it's very deep. It's not like, oh, I want to help you lose weight. Like I
Yes.
know what it means, the inside out, the bad, the ugly, the emotional eating, the downside, the good side. It's like it's not as easy and it's not as nice as everyone thinks, but that's why I love and I'm good in what I do, because I actually understand it in the inside out of it.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for sharing. I personally, I thank goodness I never had an eating disorder. But what I do want to
Mm-hmm.
ask you is, and I didn't tell you before we started recording, is I have three daughters. And
Nice.
one thing that I constantly, and this is something I talk all the time on the show, and I have lots and lots of clients, interestingly enough, who are mothers also of daughters, of girls. And so this is a main topic on this podcast. So I wanted to ask you, why did it happen?
What started it?
Yeah, like why did, as a girl, because you said it started at 11, my daughter is 10, my oldest is 10, and I do see her just last week in the car as we were driving after school. Are you familiar with Marie Forleo?
No. Who is
Okay,
she?
so Marie Forleo is a business mentor. She's based off of New York. She just launched her second book. It's called Everything is Figure Outable. So, anyways, I love Marie
Okay.
and she's great, and definitely look her up. She's incredible. She has a YouTube channel, and for all of you who are listening, definitely go and check her out. So, anyway, so I got her audiobook, and I showed my daughter her picture
Okay.
on the cover, and the first thing she told me,
She's
you know,
overweight.
no, she said, "Oh my gosh, mom, she's so slim." And then she said, "Mommy, you know what? When I grow up, I'm going to be slim." And I was shocked. I didn't comment on anything. I didn't, because I didn't want to make it a big deal. I didn't want to,
Yeah.
but I wanted to ask you, why did it happen for you? Why do you know what, actually, why do you believe that this happened? Because at the end of the day, it's really all about perception, how we perceive the world.
Yeah.
So what happened, in your life during that time that basically led to this, devastating and heartbreaking story?
So basically, to be honest, it's a question that I get asked quite a lot, what triggered it. And to be honest, I don't have a clear answer. When I went to therapy for many years, I tried understanding, was one thing or was it a combination of many? And it was, because it's like a part of having a specific personality, of like, being a perfectionist, or being I like to be in control all the time. So that's a part of it as well. And I will say that eating disorders, and then we'll talk about what you told me about your daughter. Eating disorder is a result. It's not the reason. It usually comes from a much deeper place, whether it's, for me, later on I realized, was hard to deal with my emotion and lack of confidence and insecurity.
Mhm.
And I was afraid, to actually deal with what I feel. So once you basically deal with something that has got to do with eating disorder, or I wouldn't say eating disorder, I would say a relationship to food. It creates numbing. It's like, instead of saying, okay, I had a hard day, or I have a hard time dealing with something, instead of dealing with it for real, what you're dealing it with the external stuff. It's like, what I'm going to eat, what I'm going to do, why did I eat, why did I do this, da, 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 da. It's like, it's kind of a smog that you put, instead of actually dealing with the things that really matter, because it's easier to deal with food than
Yes.
actually to deal with the things that really matters to you. Someone told me something very smart. Say yesterday, he said, that the blind people, or someone who's blind, his like sense is much better, or he can hear much better. I said, yes, that's true. That if we lose one of our senses, the other ones get more enhanced. And then he said, the same, happened to me when I lost weight. all of a sudden when I, that was gone, all of a sudden the other things, surfaced up,
Yeah.
and I needed to deal with many things that I was blind about for many years. Now, when it comes to your daughter, listen, we live in a very, in a world that idolize, women in their, how they look, not women in general, unfortunately, like being skinny, looking good, having that, perfectionist figure in everyone's mind. And the fact that what your daughter said doesn't mean anything. It can be just, she looked at her and she said she looks great. As long as she looks healthy and it's not, an extreme, you know, someone who's extremely thin or extremely skinny, it's okay. It's like she was honest and she said that was the first thing that popped out in her mind and in her head. I would, just say, make sure you as a mom talk about more health, less, weight, um, how the food makes you feel, how to nourish your body, things that help you with your focus, with your da, 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 and not necessarily whether it's fattening, it's not fattening, this is good for a diet. One of the things that I see is that because we all have a relationship with food, and because all of us as women and mothers always kind of have in our back of our mind, that will of losing weight, many times it's being projected also to our kids.
Yeah.
and
Yeah, it's
and
surprising. It's definitely surprising. I mean, maybe not, because my husband and I, it's not that we idealize healthy eating or a healthy figure. It's just we really do talk a lot about health. And I mean, my husband now, and I was going to ask you this about sugar detoxes, because my husband now, he does a sugar detox, and I guess
yeah,
it's constantly on the forefront, which is why she didn't tell me, mommy, I want to be skinny. She said, I want to be what did she say, slim. I want to be slim.
slim. Okay, at least she used that word,
Yes.
not skinny.
Oh gosh. Anyways, yeah, it's a constant. It's interesting how I want to say dafka. How for us, people who are in the health industry, we and who've been through this journey, how it is that our children are kind of more susceptible even to it. At least that's how I see it in my experience. Anyways, here's what next I wanted to ask you. I know that
Mm-hmm.
you work with both men and women.
Yeah.
As you know, the listeners of this show are women and their mothers. So I'm curious to see
I
what.
couldn't hear the last sentence. Sorry.
Oh, okay. I'm going to repeat
Yeah.
that. So I know that you're working with men and women,
Yeah.
male and female. But as you know, the listeners of the show are women only, and
Women.
they're mothers. So I am curious to know, what is the main thing that you see your female clients, especially those who have gone through childbirth,
Yeah.
what do they mainly struggle with when it comes to changing their diet? So remember you said about this guy who shared about all the things that resurfaced.
Yeah.
So what are some of those things?
I think one of the things, so it's like a combination. It's a few things. So I think one of the biggest struggles is that for us in general as women, we have a tendency not to put ourselves, I wouldn't say even first place, but as a priority. We take care of everyone else in the world and we sometimes come last. And one of the things that also happens is that once we turn into mothers, we see those struggles, that they don't put themselves as a priority. They take care of the kid, they make food for the husband, they do everything, and then they come last, and then they just eat the leftovers, or if they had time, if at all. So that's like, one of the major issues that I see with women. The second thing is that I also see a lot is many of them really want to give their kids, to create a healthy household, health and wellness. It's such a big thing in today's world. But then many of them also need to understand, and that's why I also always want to teach and explain, is that if you have a kid that suffers from being overweight, or if your kids are not healthy enough, it all starts with us. We are the reflection. We are the ones to set the example. Yes, that's true. When you're going to go outside, you're going to eat, like, could be, some junk food, and in, birthday parties and stuff like that. But bottom line, if we'll be the role model, they will follow. And those are like the two major things that I see with women that struggle, that, like, internal battle between giving it all to your kids and remembering to put yourself as a center. Because I do believe when you're happy, when you feel good about yourself, and it doesn't need to see because you're a size 0, but when you know that you take good care of yourself, nourish yourself, take the time to yourself, and, take a break in the middle of the day, even for yourself, for 5 minutes, because sometimes that's all we have. You have much more to give to the external world and to everyone else when you are, in a good place with yourself. And I think that's one of the things that I always try to explain to my clients. You need to make sure that when you're in a good place with yourself, everyone else, you will have much more to give. And that's something that in today's world is like, we give, but we forget ourselves. And that's one of the biggest struggles, I think, that I see more with women and with mothers, more specifically more younger moms, like they have small kids. Later on, you see more of the empty nest syndrome, which we can talk, more of the 45 plus, which is a different demographic, but it's also, a struggle on its own.
Yeah, yeah. So my next one is, when these mothers do decide to make a change. Because
Yeah.
I mean, the reason I asked this question is because, I mean, who on earth wants to change what they eat? I mean, that's the last thing I think people
Why?
want to do, right? Like, we would do
Yes, I
anything.
agree.
So
Yeah.
tell me, what, from your practice, what are those reasons for the dietary change? And I am curious also to know about, not only about, because I know a lot of people, at least that's what I see, they would come to me because they have a thyroid condition, because they have hormonal imbalances, because they have, obviously their weight is not, not exactly where they would like to, to
To
be
be.
in order to
Yeah.
feel good. Various physical reasons, and that kind of, it makes sense. But do you see also emotional catalysts for dietary changes?
I think 90% of it.
Really? Tell me more.
Yeah. So let's, like, first of all, I do think that we blame genetics too much. Like, the reason why we live in an overweight society is not due to genetics. It's due to the fact that we overeat, period. We overeat, we don't move enough, we live a sedentary life, and, we live in a very stressful world. And food, even though, by the DSM or by studies, is not considered as an addiction, because we can define it as an addiction because we need it to sustain ourselves. It's not like we can quit, like we quit drugs. Like, we have to eat, even if we're going to choose healthy, we're going to need to continue eating healthy for the rest of our life. But food is out there all the time. Like, Dorit, how many times, like, you go to a party, you go to, like, a class, you go to anywhere, there's always, you go to Starbucks, you have this, you go to a supermarket, you have this, like, food, you have advertising, you open Instagram, everything is food, you open Facebook, everything, it's food all the time.
Yeah.
And it's the easiest outlet, you know it's the easiest outlet. You stress, you eat. You're sad, we eat. We're happy, we celebrate with food. We're depressed, we eat a pint of ice cream. Food is always there, and it fills us up emotionally and also physically. And many times we see that, I would say, blueprint of the same behaviors that people have when it comes to the emotional side of it. I'm I don't want to give up on food. I love food too much. It's too hard for me to cook. I don't have the time. I can't do it. I'm a failure. I do the all or nothing mentality. I either eat, I'm either perfect on my diet or no, there's no middle ground. There's only black or white. There are so many, there are so many things that we see constantly that happens. Or, I cook for everyone, nothing is left from me. I work full-time job. It's like all of those excuses can be true and can be legit, but you cannot progress with creating those stories that we tell to ourselves. So the emotional part of it is really true, because if we clean up all of those limiting beliefs that we have for ourselves, I don't have time, I will never be able to lose weight, this is too hard for me, I have so much little beliefs that I can actually lose that weight. If we're going to clean this up and won't have that fear of failing again, then we are much in a better place to actually prepare ourselves for success. But most people are afraid to fail, and failure is a part of life. It's part of, is a part of the game, and failure is not a bad thing. It's, failure is just stop trying. But if you understand that neither of us have a perfect life, a perfect relationship, and we're not going to have a perfect diet as well. Like, we're going to have on days and off days, and it's not about being perfect, and it's not about never falling off the wagon. It's just not about not giving up, and we give up and we don't believe in ourselves and we blame ourselves. I always say blaming yourself is, and guilt is much more fattening than any chocolate cake that you will ever eat in your life.
Yeah.
Because you keep on blaming yourself. Why did I eat that cake? I was not good. I'm not good enough. And it continues like a snowball.
Yeah. Yeah. And another thing that I see in my practice is a lot of the times, especially with weight gain, I work with women who do exercise and they do, all the things that you're supposed to do, and they still hold on to the weight. And so that's why I asked you this question, because I've noticed that this emotional eating piece is so crucial to dismantle, because a lot of the times it's not the food that is causing you to gain the weight or to hold on to the weight. It's the feeling of, you don't feel safe in your life, or you feel exposed in your life, or you feel for some reason you feel like you are under danger. And again, this is a perceived situation, which is where, working with a therapist or with a coach or someone who can help you to break this down and really face it. I think that's where it's really interesting. And another thing I wanted to say with emotional eating, it's really tough, because on the one hand, you understand that you are being a little bit of a control freak. So you're trying to, I see a lot of like OCD, and I think what you shared is in line with that too. But at the same time, food, I mean, as little babies that are born into the world, that's the first thing we do. We eat. Like, that's how the connection is, interaction.
We eat, not only we eat, we also create, that emotional attachment to food. He cries, okay, I'll give you a bottle of breast.
Exactly, right? It's comforting. Yeah.
It's comforting, and you pay attention. So one of the things is that, we will never be able to separate it. Food, like, what is the definition of emotional eating? Every time you eat, not because of a physical hunger. Probably most of the time you eat. Or, you don't always, yes, you eat because we're hungry. But if we were just eating, to satisfy our hunger, no, neither of us would be overweight. Yes, that's true. The food industry puts lots of, preservatives and chemicals. And we do see that ultra processed food can, make you consume much more calories than regular foods. Yeah, we know all of those things. We do understand that there are some genetic components to it. Yes, we do understand that, growing up in an economical situation brings you to, more of a chance to become obese. Yeah, we do see all of those connections. It's not like I'm ignoring them and saying like, guys, you're just giving excuses. I legitimately understand everything that they're talking about, but I'm saying, bottom line, we feel that it's a constant battle and a fight. And sometimes people ask me, will I need to do this for the rest of my life? I say yes and no. What does that mean? Yes, you're going to need to watch what you're eating or be mindful until the rest of your life. It's like you're saying, you turn into a mother. Will you be a mother for the rest of your life? Yes, you will. Some days more, some days less. Some days you would love it. Some days you will want, just to
Give
close
them
the door
away.
and shut it down and no one will speak to me ever again. But you're going to be a mother also if they drove you insane on a Saturday night. You're still going to wake up Sunday morning and you're still going to be the mother of three beautiful girls. You will still be. But when it comes to food, if we struggle, that's the first thing we give up on. We give up on ourselves, on our health. It's too much for me. I have too many things going on in my life. I can't focus on my food right now. So we're like waiting for that perfect moment, and that perfect moment will never happen. Or we have that conceptions or misconception that we need to stop eating food or food won't taste good. We victimize ourselves. We feel
Yeah.
sorry for ourselves, oh, what do I need to eat healthy for the rest of my life? Like health is like connected with like plain boring food. We
Yeah.
have a lot of limiting beliefs when it comes to that. And it's all comes from the emotional side. And also listen, the diet industries that, and when I talk about the diet industry, I'm talking about the diet pills, the 500-calorie meal plans and all of those things that to say that I hate, it wouldn't be even a word to describe how much it upsets me to see that and to see even doctor prescribe diet pills, because those diet industries, their main goal is to make money. No one ever went on a fed or a crash diet and was actually able to change his lifestyle and to keep the weight off. You lose the weight, you gain the weight, you lose the weight, you gain the weight. It deteriorates your motivation, it interferes with your metabolism, it slows it down, and you feel like a constant failure, and that it doesn't matter what you'll do, food will always be stronger than you.
Hey, gorgeous. I'm pausing this interview to invite you into my world. If you've been listening to the show for a while and you resonate with my message of health and healing, especially for us women and mamas and wives out there, then this is your chance. I'm looking for two clients to work with in the next 6 months. Yes, working with me is it's a long experience. It's a long-term experience. And I've tried it all. I've tried 3 months, I've tried 2 weeks, I've tried the 8 weeks. And for women, especially who are mamas as well, and we have, and having life, a full life, it's challenging. It's challenging to find the time to implement, and it's challenging to find the time to really integrate and embody what you learn. And this is the reason why my program evolved into a longer experience, uh, because I do believe it requires time, and I've found that this to be the best way to not only learn something new, but actually still have enough time to to be guided and have the mentorship that you need in order to really truly shift your life around. And I have the testimonials of dozens of clients who went through the process, which I will be sharing with you as we go along with the podcast. However, if you feel like this is it, you've heard enough, and you know that this is what you need to do, then this is your chance. I am opening up 2 slots for women to work with in the next 6 months. So if you are a woman who mostly operate off your masculine power, and some examples of that would be, let's say you wake up in the morning and then you mentally review your goals for the day and you plan out how you're going to accomplish them. And then you try to stick to your schedule like clock walk. You're yelling at the kids to keep them on time, tossing sandwiches into bags and running out the door. And then by the time you're dropping the kids off at school and sitting down at your desk, you're not even sure how you got there. The mornings are really a blur. If you also are a woman who is focused a lot on your to-do list and you take the next step right away to keep up with your momentum, and you push yourself and others to finish every task um, at any cost, then this is again, no judgment here. This is just a sign that you operate the majority of your time out of your masculine energy. And then if you feel like you're not a woman who has the need to share your heart with others. You internalize your problems until you figure out a solution. You operate a lot. You're driven by your ego. You don't want or need others' opinions because you rely on your own judgment about what's best for you. If you, in terms of food and your relationship with food, if your eating style is eating what's in front of you, forgetting to eat because you're too focused on other tasks, or rigidly adhere to a diet plan, even if it makes you feel hungry and depleted. So again, it's mindless eating, not really, paying attention and being graceful with your body, with yourself as a being. In terms of exercise, if you select your workout based on your fitness goals for the month and then you push yourself through no matter what, and you ignore your beautiful menstrual cycle and the 4 phases of your menstrual cycle, and then you push, 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 go, go, go. If you, in terms of relationships, for example, you want to talk about what you accomplished today and then you both crash in front of the TV, that's another sign that you operate the majority of your day out of your masculine energy. If you have a tendency to organize the house, to do the last bit of laundry, make your next day's to-do list, and take care of everything else you can to make sure that you have a focused start to the next day, that's also a sign that you are operating in your masculine the majority of the time. And then when it comes to the ramifications and the consequences of operating the majority of your time and energy in the masculine, then right? Like it just doesn't feel good in the body. You don't feel like you are in the flow. And then the biggest struggle is the feeling of burnout. So it can be a mental burnout, it can be an emotional burnout, it can be physical burnout, right? So meaning your body already is manifesting symptoms. And so this is what my work is all about. This is what my coaching practice is all about, giving you the tools to live the majority of your life really coming from a place of feminine energy, from a place of serenity, deep just relaxation, from deep knowing and trust that it's going to be okay. And then how to actually take that theory and bring it into your life, bring it into the boardroom, bring it into your marriage, bring it into your parenting, bring it into your relationships with others. That's what my work is all about. And of course, we're going to be talking about food. I'm going to introduce you to the 6 female markers and the 4 phases of your menstrual cycle and all of this beautiful stuff. So if this resonates with you and you feel like, yes, this is exactly what I need, then head on over to my website. And in order to work with me, you first have to apply. So my website is www.doritpalvanov.com. I'm going to spell it out for you. DORITPALVANOV.com/apply. And on that page, there's going to be an application form. Fill that out, and I will get back to you within 24 hours, and we can take the next steps. So Thank you for listening, and let's go back to my interview with the wonderful Karin. Yeah. So, in line with this topic of this podcast, and you ladies hear me say this all the time, feminine energy, feminine power is really it's your power, it's yours. And every time you make the choice of taking a pill, following a prescription, following somebody else's plan to the point where you don't have your own body, I guess, or mindfulness engaged in the process, you are giving your power away every single time.
I
And
agree.
every single time that happens, you will feel like you need to be comforted. You will
Yeah.
feel it's just the way it is, right? And so take your power back, own yourself,
Own it. Own
own it,
it.
always
Own it.
own it in the process. And that's the only way this huge monster that you believe that it is, that's the only way for you to actually deal with it, one small step at a time. All right. Yeah.
I
You want
agree
to add
with
something?
you. And I will say one thing that, because when we'll talk about it later, but I have online groups. And one of the things that we did in the groups, that we have accountability, we have mentors and me, and we have daily food logs and accountability, and you check in. And then I say, guys, yes, you can be accountable to me. You can be accountable to the coaches. You can be accountable to the program. The first person you need to be accountable is to yourself. Own it. You can reach to any goal. But if you won't own it, and if you will let me own it for you, you will always be dependent on me. Exactly. And you will never be able to progress and to set free.
Yeah. Yeah. As long as you are dependent, you are not confident.
And you're not really free, and you cannot really regain your food freedom. In order to regain your food freedom, you need to own it.
Oh, I love that. So good. Okay. Last question before we move on to the second part of the interview. Sure. I want to hear because I know you do a lot of work around sugar detoxing and gluten-free and all that stuff. I want to share with you that, first of all, I guide my clients to do that as well. Mm-hmm. Like I shared in the beginning, my husband does a sugar detox right now. And there are so many behavioral changes that happen in this process that really can feel like it's overwhelming, not doable, impossible to do, So I wanted to hear your perspective. Because I know you talk also a lot about behavioral changing, eating habits, and all that stuff. Can you share a little bit more about that?
About what happens when you go into the sugar detox mode, or
first
what?
Of all, okay. maybe talk a little bit about why do you do sugar detoxes? Why is it necessary for women to do, and also how to handle the resistance that happens in the body?
So I think, first of all, we definitely, we overconsume sugar all the time. The daily recommended amount is something that usually all of us are consumed much more than that. Now, again, as I mentioned before, that we're not, by definition, no studies show that we're really addicted, to sugar. However, when I get off people from sugar, and when I talk about sugar, I talk about the refined sugars. I'm not talking about fruits and stuff like that. I'm talking about, the chocolate, the bars. I'm talking about, the hot chocolate that they buy in Starbucks. I'm talking about those things, the cakes and the pastries. They all have, similar side effects: the headaches, feeling fatigue, lack of energy. And then, within a few days, they feel really different, and they feel empowered, and they feel amazing. But you see, the behaviors of the body, they really repeat it themselves. But one of the things that I say is that we have a tendency also to skip meals, to create that codependency, on sugar, to use that as a pick-me-up all the time. Our body create that dependency on that. You wake up in the morning, you skip your breakfast, you probably have some sort of, during the day, some sort of a sugar crash. In the afternoon, you grab something, at night again. And I want to basically teach people that your energy needs to come from nourishing food, whole real foods, that gives you the vitamins, the minerals, the fiber, the proteins, the carbs, the complex carb, whatever it is, the fat that you need, and not to consume your, major source of energy from sugars. And that's what happens, because sugar is easy, it's available, it's a quick pick me up. And that what happens today. Do I think we can live our life without sugar? Can we? Yes. Do I believe in it? No, because it's like almost impossible to live in such a, strict lifestyle. But once what I see when I do my 21-day sugar detox or the boost is that I want to bring you to the point where you are in control over food and not food is in control over you. That if you want to have a piece of chocolate in the afternoon, you can, of course, afterwards. But you can take your cup of coffee with a little chocolate bar, enjoy it, and not, continue thinking about it and then finishing an entire chocolate cookie, box or something like that. Like, that's one of my main goals, is to teach you how to take control over it. Because yes, it's like, it creates that, brain fogness that you need that sugar all the time. It's like sugar, 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 sugar. And once you start eating food, and once you completely do cold turkey completely, then all of a sudden after 3 weeks, your taste buds changes. You eat, sugar, and then all of a sudden, oh my God, it's too sweet.
It's so true. It's so true.
And all of a sudden you eat it, and then you say, okay, maybe I don't feel as good now. It doesn't mean that you will never be able to have it again. Yes, you can, but it's like, this is not your source of energy. You're not dependent on that. That's the way that I believe that you can start regaining your food freedom, by not being dependent on the sugar. Do a cold turkey, 3 weeks. It's not for 2 months. It's not for your entire life. You will still eat plenty of good food. You will still be able to enjoy your sweets afterwards, but you won't be obsessed about it. You won't be like saying, I have to have my, chocolate in the afternoon. Like, yeah. I want to bring people to the point where they say, I choose not the food, have control over me. And that's one of the most important things that I believe, is that once you do that, all of a sudden you're like, okay, I have much more control. I know what I need to choose. I know what I need to eat. And it's not like being consumed with, that sugar cravings all the time, because cravings, are one of the biggest like weaknesses that people have when they're trying to lose weight. They feel like they're consumed with those cravings. So we break those cravings, we cut them completely, and then it gives them like a reset, like a restart, like a boost.
Yeah. Oh, that's a big one. The cravings. I wanted to share, I know I'm going to share my husband's experience. Now, I know he's a male, and you ladies know that I very much talk about the female centric approach to healing and health and taking care of your body. Because I believe that because our bodies are so different and we have ovaries, men don't, our hormone, many times when we eat, it's really that we feed our hormones, not so much as, feeding the body per se. And so what I'm seeing is my husband, he got to the point where, like you're saying, food, sugar, cookies, cakes, all that crap that I never even buy, but he used to buy. And so he got to the point, and he had to be really honest with himself, that this was taking control over him, as opposed the other way around. And this habit was really evident in everything that he does.
Everything.
So you know how they say, how you do one thing is how you do everything. So
yeah.
he noticed that he was showing up kind of like half-assing in his business, in our marriage, in his fatherhood experience. It's not only his relationship to sweets. So
of
you
course.
ladies think about this too. And then the other thing that I want to share is that now my husband decided to do a sugar detox, and he used to drink smoothies every morning, but he used to add spinach and blueberries and bananas to every single morning. Now he does the Wild Fit program. I don't know if you're familiar with that. And he drinks plain green smoothies every day. And now that he's been doing this for over 3 weeks, he's like, you know what, Dorit, I don't even need the blueberries. I don't even need the banana. And even when I do eat it, it tastes too sweet. So what you said about, adapting the taste buds, it's so true. It's so true. It's absolutely true.
Yeah. And also another thing is that one of the things is that studies shows that once you lose weight and, losing weight, cutting back on stuff, that it affects not only your weight, it affects your confidence, your relationship with your other significant, it affects your performances in work, it affects, your way of dealing with emotional stuff, it affects your social skills. And, when I say to people and when I work with my clients, I combine, in my, I call it the diet code or the holy triangle. I say, I give you the education, the nutritional part, and the behavioral part. And once you take those behavioral changes that you apply to your diet, and exactly like your husband, and you apply it to your other aspects in life, you got it right. Like you got it right, because it's everything goes into a system. And when we create that system, it goes with the flow, and there's much more time to do than to think. Many times when we don't do, we just think, and then we consume our thoughts and ourselves with too much thinking, and there's zero energy to actually do.
I love that. Oh, Karin, thank you so, so much. I feel like you are such a wealth of knowledge and experience, and I really want to continue
Thank you.
this conversation more and more, but I know we are short on time. So let's shift to the other part of this interview. And this part is really about giving the listeners a kind of a window into your personal life. I mean, if there is a question here that you believe like, oh my gosh, it's too much, please let me know and I will just edit it out.
That's okay.
But I give this, I ask these questions, first of all, because I am super curious about you as a person. But also to show listeners that, even though we are experts, we are not, we're not superman and superwomen. We're not, something that no one else can be. And so if you and I and, other people in our communities have done it, it's definitely possible for any woman who decides to, to become whatever
For sure.
that she craves. Okay. So my first question is, what is your, and by the way, I want to say that the answers to these questions, keep them short so that
okay.
so we don't run out of time. All right. What is your definition of feminine power?
What an interesting question. I think it's actually loving yourself inside out, feeling that, you're the best version of yourself without being perfect. I think that's one of the things that are the most important, in my opinion. Like, you can feel whole even if it's not in a perfected way.
All right. And who even says what perfect is? I love that. All right. As you know, the show is all about inspiring mothers to own their power and feel more confident, energized, and sexy as women, wives, and moms. And I like to call it being a goddess in your life. So I'm curious to know, how are you being a goddess in your own life? How do you take care of yourself, your soul, your body? What are some of your non-negotiables?
What of my non-negotiable? I would say first thing is that, I always make sure to wake up super early in the morning. I try always 5, but it doesn't always work. So if not, it's 5:30 to 6. And I try to always have my time in the morning, to sit down with myself, to read a little bit, to work out, to have a proper breakfast, to have my water, my coffee, to drink it quietly. That's like me time. I try usually not to have, to work. So that's one of the things that, like, I always try to do those things, that this is Karin's time. Another thing is that I always go see someone, whether it's a business coach, a therapist, a personal trainer. I always have something that is just for me. And it changes because my needs change all the time. And where I'm focused at, but I always have those people and those outlets that I can reach out to. And so it's very important for me to create, a group of people that I surround myself, that I can trust and I believe, and that I feel that those are my outlets. And then I always, try to do something that is different, that a hobby, to teach myself something new. So now I just started learning Spanish. Now
Mm.
I don't have time, and I do it at like 9 p.m. on a Monday, which is, I'm so beat up and tired by then. But I try to do something that is just, else, something different, something that, fulfill my soul, that is not just reading a book about diet, and it's not watching a TV that is about it. It's something that is completely outside of my world. Um, and then, there's the regular stuff. I cook for myself, I work out, I do hikes. But those are things that it's a part of, like, my lifestyle. um but I'm a big believer in therapy. I'm a big believer in talking about what you feel. I'm a big believer in doing the inner work, even though I'm a very paced person, and I'm very like results and da 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 da. I'm a big believer in the depth of things as well.
Yes. Oh, I love that. And I really appreciate that so much about you and your program. And I would never even invite you into this podcast unless I've had that sense about you. But I've been following you on Instagram, and I see that you do, even though you guide people through a dietary change, it's not so much as, a diet culture,
Mm-hmm.
anything that perpetuates diet culture. So I really appreciate that. All right, my
Thank you.
next one is, what makes you feel confident and energized?
mm. What makes me feel confident and energized? um Energized, I think it's Gabriel, my son, and my husband Liam. They both give me, so much energy. um Confidence, myself, learning to really love myself. There's no one thing that now makes me feel confident anymore, because I was such a person that had zero confidence, even though for the outside world it always seems that I had a lot. Going through so many years of therapy and learning how to create that confidence in me, that's something that I work really hard to build. And even though, someone, I can get a comment or like a bad feedback or whatever it is, and it can put me down a little bit, it's it goes away. Like, I really build it from the inside out. So there's no one thing. It's like a continuing work that I've been doing for the last 15 years with myself.
Yeah, I love that. What makes you feel sexy?
What makes me feel sexy? Wearing heels.
Nice. What advice does your now mom self would have given to your pre-mom self? I know you're still very, very early in the game, but I'm just curious.
Again, what advice? What?
What advice does your now mom self would have given to your pre-mom self?
Oh, um, oh, you know, become a mom earlier.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow. That's
yeah,
surprising.
yeah.
Somebody said, don't do it. Yeah.
Listen, I have to say, I'm blessed with an amazing child that is brings so much joy and happiness. And even though we know we're short on time, you and I both, I will say that becoming a mom was something very scary for me. Um, I wasn't sure how I'll be. I really loved my life the way they were prior to Gabriel.
Mhm.
And, everything was in place. Everything was just the way I wanted it to be. And, when everything is in the place, you're afraid to, move something because you don't know what will be, the domino effect on it.
Yeah.
So I had a lot of, you know, fears and scares, and something that women don't usually talk about, because it's like, it's kind of obvious that our goal in life is to become mothers, but it's like there's also a lot of fears and anxiety surrounding it, at least for me, not for everyone. That was my experience.
Yeah.
And I don't know, the moment, like the second I gave birth, and like my husband Liam says, it's like Karin changed that second.
Mm.
Sometimes it takes for women 6 months, 12 months. It doesn't, it's fine. It's all for me. It was that second that like something changed. And if I would have known that, I wouldn't spend so many years being afraid of it,
Mm. Why were you afraid of it?
because I didn't know how I will feel. I didn't know, like, what will it be? Will it consume all of my time? Will I love it? Will I enjoy it? Will it be, like, how hard will it be? I was just, scared. And I didn't have any, you know, younger siblings, and my friends that, have kids, not like, kids were never something that I was interested in as a person. Like, it was like, okay, kids. Today it's different. So it's like, how you say, it's like, once you turn into a mother, it changes because
Yeah.
it's yours. I was like, no, you're bullshitting. And I was like, yeah, it's true.
Now you get it. Now you
Oh,
get
I get it. I say the
it.
same now. I turn into a cliche myself.
Yes. All right. My next question is, I like to keep it real and show listeners that even though someone is an expert in one area, they might be struggling with other things. So, what are some of your current challenges as a woman, wife, or mother? And or mother.
I have many challenges. I think one of the challenges is to be more present, which is very problematic in today's world. Phone, social media, business, like, you need to feel that you're like, we have that fear of missing out all the time. Um, and I think that's one of the challenges that we all face with. And then that, complexity with saying, I also want to be present to spend time with my son, because those moments never come back. So
Mhm.
I think that's something that I deal with all the time. I'm trying to be better. I monitor the time that I'm on my phone. I have, that screen time, app. In the last 3 months, my screen time really lowered. In the last 2 weeks, it increased back up. And it's like, okay, it increased back up and I'm still not doing anything about it, and I'm still like not good enough with that. So I struggle between, having a business, being a wife, being a mom, trying to have time for my good friends. My brother is visiting. I wish I could have more time for him. I think that's like, everyone says I'm great in time management. I don't think so. I think I need to be much better. I think I need to improve on that. And that's a constant struggle. But it's also a part of my personality always to want to do more. I don't know how to stop. I don't know how to pause. I don't know. And it's great, but it's also have a very high price. Because on the other hand, it's like you can also burn yourself out from that. Like, I get to the point where I'm like just burned out.
Yeah.
And it took me a long time to start balancing it. And I still have such a long way to go.
Yeah, like we all do.
Yeah.
All right, my next one is the mother daughter dynamic comes up a lot in my practice. And not every
Yeah.
woman is a mother, but every woman is a daughter. So I'm curious to know, how do you think that your relationship with your mom helped to shape who you are today?
That's a good question. Um, I think that, first of all, I agree completely. There's complexity between daughters and mothers. You can elaborate probably much more than I do about why and how and the psychology aspect of that. My parents got divorced when I was 1 year old. So I grew up with my mom. Yes, I was in a touch and in a good relationship with my dad, but she raised us as a single mom, me and my brother. So, she needed to take care of everything. So she was very, strong and very, determined. So from one hand, that really, I would say shaped who I am, to be um, a strong individual, to really be a go-getter, to know what I want. Like, I was always raised like, you can achieve those things that you want. You have those abilities. On the other end, it's also turned me to be a little bit of a soloist, I would say, like, to play solo in life. So that's another thing, because my mom is like that. So it really transitioned into me. And that was one of the hardest thing for me, to be in a relationship. Like, in my years of therapy, I worked a lot on that, because everyone in my family except for me are not in a relationship. Not my dad, not my brother, not my mother, only me. Um, so I think that's a part of it. And also, the good part of it is that it made me really strong to be a go-getter and ambitious. The not as good side, that she was always a little bit more hard on me because of that, because her expectations were really high for me. So that has good, and that has also bad side to it. I don't blame her, because she did, we all want to do the best for our kids. but it did created complexity for me with myself, feeling for many years that I'm not good enough, even though that's never what she meant, but that's how I interpreted it, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, so good. All right. In one sentence, what is your vision for your life? What are you creating? What is your life's purpose?
My life purpose, I think, and if we're talking about professionally wise, I think is to create the change that I was able to create in my life to create to other people, you know,
Mm.
to bring that conscious into people, like, you know, healthy, balanced diet, nutrition, state of mind, behavioral change changed my life. I want to do it for everyone else. And I am, and I will. And until, you know, everyone will bring themselves into a better, more awareness, more conscious, in a better place. And that's, in my opinion, my life purpose and my destiny.
Oh, so good. I love that. I love you, Karim. You're so amazing. Tell people
Thank you.
how can people connect with you? Where can they find you? How can they join your programs? Now is the time for that.
Okay, where can they find me? Probably all over the place. I'm on Facebook, Instagram. We're now building my YouTube page. My website, karinadoni.com. The name of my company is Clean Diet by Karin. And the website is karinadoni.com. I'm available on Instagram and Facebook. Basically, we have online programs. I do also one-on-one coaching, but my 90%, the majority, what I do is that I have online programs that we work globally, internationally, on 21 days, 90 days, and 365. So it's like break, create lifestyle, like break the dependency on sugar and food, create, you know, that real long-term habits in the 90 days, and then make it into a lifestyle in our 365 program. We give meal and recipes, you know, educational. I teach so much in my programs: how to read food labels, what are the food groups, what are carbs, what are proteins, what do we eat at restaurants, how, you know, everything. And then I talk about the behavioral changes, you know, how not to do the all or nothing mentality, how not to victimize ourselves, self-belief, self-worth, to prioritize ourselves, like all of those things that, in my opinion, you know, create that complete, you know, package that you need in order to create that change. Like, I teach you the lifestyle. You want to eat more meat, less meat, an extra avocado, or no? In my opinion, that's the easy part, and that's, you know, the things that we can decide together, and you will know enough how to decide on your own. But I teach them the lifestyle. I give them the tools to take for life, and that's the reason why we have like 10,000 success stories, that people that lost from 20 pounds to, you know, my most, I think, was 170 pounds. No surgery, no nothing, just like, you know, full on diet. So we have a lot of success stories. We care about our clients. We have an accountability system. We have coaches. We have mentors. We have weekly weigh-ins. We have, you know, an online community. We're very active. I care. I really care. Like, if a person wants to say, I want to do it, I will help them to reach any goal that they want, as long as they took the responsibility upon themselves. I also have recipe books that I created and then I'm selling. It's called the recipe book. Now my dessert book is coming out as well. Everything is, you know, gluten free, low in sugar, low carb, easy, simple. All of my recipes, 10 to 15 minutes. I don't believe in anything that takes too much time. I'm
Mhm.
now developing my water bottle. We also opened a new program for 45 plus, which is menopausal women. So we have a lot of things, you know, going on. We work online. We do it really well. We have programs opening up, you know, almost every 2 to 3 weeks. And I think, like, I truly believe in the product because we bring something that no one else can bring. Because we bring that, you know, complete program, but we also bring the accountability and the support, which is a big part of it, because people need that until they can own them by themselves. And regardless, if you don't want to join one of our programs, you're more than welcome, you know, to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. I do short videos of inspiration. I have webinars that I do, free webinars on different topics, like how to increase your metabolism, emotional eating, cravings, you know, to get the word spread out. So yeah, and then many more things to come as well.
Love it, love it, love it. Thank you so much. And all the links that you mentioned are going to be in the show notes. So you guys can head on over there and find Karin to follow her and all of this good stuff. Karin, thank you so, so much for your
Thank you, Dorita. It
time.
was a man. Thank
Thank
you.
you for your I mean, obviously, I'm not thanking you for the journey that you went through because I know that there was a lot of pain, but at the same time, I thank you for showing up, for owning it, and for taking this struggle and turning it into a gift to the world.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It was amazing, and best of luck. And I can't wait to hear it.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye. Wait, before you go, I hope you've enjoyed this episode, and if you did, I want to know about it. So snap a picture of you listening to this episode and share it on Instagram or Facebook. On Instagram, you can tag me at Dorit Palvanov Coaching. So Dorit is spelled as Dorit and Palvanov spelled as Palvanov Coaching. So it's all one word. Or you can use the hashtag Confident, Energized, and Sexy Mama Podcast. You see, my personal goal beyond having amazing conversations with guests or hosting solo episodes is to increase the visibility for this platform and these messages to be shared and heard by women who need it the most. And there's no way that I can do this on my own. So I'm asking you, the incredible community of confident, energized, and sexy mamas, to help me with this goal. So whether you're coming to me through iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, wherever you're listening to the show from, please rate, review, and subscribe to the show. This would mean the world to me, and it's so, so helpful for other mothers who are looking for this information. So thank you so much for listening, and I'll catch you next time. Bye for now.